Welcome to Brilliantly British. My name is Lawrence and today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious Bramley apple pie. So, as I show you how to make this delicious British treat, please sit back, relax with a cup of tea in hand, putting your feet up too, and enjoy this episode. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. So far on the channel, we've shared our recipes for apple crumble, Dorset apple cake, and apple turnovers, all fantastic treats centered around the humble apple. And in keeping with the aforementioned episodes, we'll be sharing another apple-filled treat to wow your guests when the dessert course arrives. In this episode, we'll be sharing our recipe for this modest-looking apple pie, consisting of a rich, sweet and sour apple filling encased within a crisp short crust pastry. So, with the introductions made and your interest piquing, please allow me to introduce the ingredients to you. For today's Brilliantly British apple pie, you will need some white granulated sugar, an egg, some light muscavado sugar, some Bramley cooking apples or any other sour variety of apples that are available to you. You will need some ground cinnamon, some plain white flour, some nutmeg, and some butter, ideally homemade Brilliantly British butter. Follow the link up there to learn how to make it yourselves at home, and to avoid the occurrence of bland food, you will finally need a little pinch or two of salt. That's it for the making of today's Brilliantly British apple pie. But please, before you get started, before you do anything at all, please switch on your kettle, brew yourself a nice cup of hot tea so that you can sip on that whilst you bake. To begin making the ultimate Bramley apple pie, in a saucepan over a very low heat, begin to slowly melt a cube of butter before beginning to prepare your apples by first peeling, quartering and coring. You'll then want to transfer your apple quarters into your pan of melted butter, stirring the contents often over a medium heat to cook the apples and evaporate any excess liquid. Once tender and crucially still with some bite, relocate 2/3 of the apples into a bowl of choice, with the remaining apples being pureed not too long afterwards. After returning your puree back to your pan, season with nutmeg, cinnamon, and your light muscavado sugar, stirring the ingredients constantly over a medium heat. Once combined, gradually incorporate flour, whisking constantly thereafter to prevent the occurrence of lumps, heating the contents up to the point where it just starts to bubble and boil. Perfect. For the short crust pastry, in a food processor or in a bowl by hand, combine flour, butter, sugar and salt until sand-like in consistency. Then, after having homogenized an egg, incorporate it into the sand-like mixture before adding water 1 tablespoon at a time to just about bring the ingredients together to form a dough. With a sufficient amount of water added, turn the contents out onto your work surface to gently bring together and knead. You'll then want to cut away 1/3 of your dough, placing the smaller piece in your fridge for later on, proceeding by rolling the large piece out onto a well-floured work surface until you're able to comfortably blanket your tart pan or pie dish, before cutting away any excesses and resting in your fridge for at least 30 minutes or better still, an hour. Once sufficiently rested, begin to preheat your oven, using the time whilst you wait to first cover the pastry with a sheet of baking paper, followed by some baking beans or raw rice in my case, and a sheet of foil to protect the rice, before blind baking for an initial 15-minute long stint. Meanwhile, whilst blind baking, finish the preparation of your filling by coating your cooked apple quarters with your now cool spiced apple puree, setting it to one side for just a moment while attending to your pastry. Speaking of the pastry, after 15 minutes, I then removed the baking paper and rice before returning my pan to my oven to bake for a further 15 minutes. After the second 15-minute long stint, with the pastry now fully cooked, place your pan to one side while preparing the lid of your pie. After recalling your chilled dough on a well-floured surface, roll out the pastry until large enough to cover your pan, and after rolling, placing the sheet to one side, proceed by turning in your apple pie filling, covering with your pastry sheet, trimming away any excesses, sprinkling with coarse sugar, before crucially baking still within your tart pan or pie dish, unlike I did, until hot and encrusted like the item on screen now. So, with a classic apple pie made and your appetites peaking, I think it's high time for tasting, tasting, tasting. Are you ready? Are you steady? 3, 2, 1. Right, let's go and dive straight into this. I think this is too good to be true. The apples just melt in the mouth. The sweetness, of course, first hits you from the custard, then from the actual filling itself. It's lovely, a bit spicy because you've got the nutmeg, the cinnamon going through it. You've got those caramel notes coming through because of the type of sugar that was used. It's buttery as well. But then the other element comes into it, that sharpness, that sourness from the Bramley apple cuts through and is wonderfully balanced. It is fantastic. I haven't even mentioned how amazing the pastry is. It is crisp. Honestly, I've had a fair few apple pies in my time and never have I ever had an apple pie with pastry that is this crisp and stays crisp, the everlasting crisp. It's fantastic. And look, this is brilliant. This is brilliantly British, and the custard with this pie rounds everything off. So look, I've somewhat exhausted my vocabulary. All I can say for now is please, I'm urging you, go out, get the ingredients. You've seen how easy, how simple it is to make. So please, please, please make this dessert. Please. Thank you, thank you, thank you all for allowing me to show you how to make a fantastic Bramley apple pie. Knowing that you loved this episode, please don't forget to click on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button so that you don't miss any of our new releases. Tell everyone you know, and I mean everyone, that you know about the Brilliantly British food on this channel, and follow us on all of the social media platforms that this channel is on, and I will see you